My name is Julian Jonker. I'm an assistant professor of legal studies and business ethics at the University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School. I've been attending the Society for Business Ethics since 2017 when I arrived at Wharton. It's tradition in my department amongst business ethicists to attend, and so I first attended out of respect for tradition. I immediately discovered that the Society has an incredibly warm community of scholars who are thoughtful and accomplished, and I plan to attend for as long as I can. My paper is titled Price, Risk, and Exploitation, and in it I examine the trade-off that firms sometimes face between risks to consumers or employees and the prices that they set either for labor or for products. Consider a concrete example. They are rife during this time of pandemic. Suppose a firm is in the business of delivering goods to consumers and it hires workers to do this. So a grocery delivery business, for example. Let's suppose that the firm fulfills whatever legal obligations it faces with respect to safety and also whatever minimum safety standards are set by morality. Nonetheless, these workers are frontline workers, and they're exposed to a higher risk of coronavirus infection and therefore a higher chance of severe health outcomes. The firm, having met its minimum obligations, may nonetheless wish to spend more on the workers, and at that point face a choice between spending that on further safety protections for the workers or simply giving them the money as extra pay, hazard pay. How should the firm make the decision between those two alternatives? The traditional way to answering that question is given by expected utility theory, which tells us to consider the probabilities of various outcomes, use those as weights for the values of those outcomes, and then pick whichever alternative comes out best. Expected utility theory tells us to be risk neutral. In other words, a worker facing a severe negative outcome, say losing a paycheck for an entire month, would be equally satisfied if they faced that prospect as well as the chance of, say, doubling their paycheck for a month, if those chances are equal. Now, of course, people don't normally think like this. They normally weigh negative outcomes more severely than positive outcomes, even when the chances are equal. And we think of people as being risk-averse in this way. In my paper, I argue that firms should be risk-averse when they make choices like this for workers. And in particular, they should do so in situations where the worker is unable to participate or express preferences about the trade-off between further safety precautions on the one hand or financial compensation on the other hand. What is the importance of my paper from the perspective of ethical business theory? Well, I work within the tradition of rational decision theory, and in that tradition, the standard model is expected utility theory. I show how we can extend expected utility theory in order to take into account the moral considerations that arise from inequality. And so I show how risk aversion is sometimes required by morality, even though morality doesn't require that a firm completely eliminate all risk. After all, risks cannot be completely eliminated. What is the importance of this paper from the perspective of ethical business practice? The conclusion of the paper is that firms must sometimes decide in ways that are risk averse. When? Well, where there is a certain kind of asymmetry. When the worker has little or no ability to control the choice or express their preferences about how that choice should be exercised, at least genuinely, and where the exercise of the choice affects the worker more than it affects the firm. So where there's some sort of severe consequence for the worker. In those circumstances, the firm should choose in a risk-averse way, and they should do so out of respect for the worker's autonomy, since the risk of a severe negative outcome is not just bad for the worker, it doesn't just decrease their well-being, it also limits their life choices.